Bonjour à tous. The last few weeks have been hard in different ways for everyone. You're worried about your job or your business. You're concerned about your health or the health of an elderly parent. No matter what this has meant for you, I know you're looking for answers. Knowing where we are now and where we might be in the coming weeks and months is how we can all figure out our response. For you, that could be planning on how to make sure the kids keep learning even though they're at home. For our government, the numbers and data compiled by our experts are critical to understanding the scope of this pandemic and informing the decisions we make to keep you safe. And we've made sure you can access the most reliable, accurate information available to us at canada.ca/coronavirus. We're going to keep releasing up-to-date data on a daily basis and using it to inform our decisions. And we'll continue working with the provinces and territories on getting new information to have a complete national picture that we'll share with you. Regardless of the varying models or predictions, one thing is consistently clear. The measures that have been put in place by all orders of government, from closing schools to staying home, are saving lives. But this will only keep working if everyone continues to do their part. If everyone takes their duty to nurses and doctors, to the elderly and to the vulnerable, seriously. As seriously as if it were the life of their parent or their child on the line. Because it is. The cashier at the store is someone's brother. The paramedic saving lives is someone's wife. That's what's at stake here. The lives of the people we love, the lives of the people our neighbors love. So do your part. Wash your hands. Stay 2 meters away from each other. And above all, stay home. Ça fait plusieurs semaines maintenant que nous restons à la maison. C'est ce qu'il faut faire, en plus de garder nos distances et se laver les mains. En fait, c'est à la maison que la plupart d'entre nous se sentent le plus en sécurité en ce moment. Mais imaginez si vous aviez plus peur de rester chez vous que d'affronter la pandémie. Malheureusement, c'est la réalité pour beaucoup trop de Canadiens. C'est le quotidien des femmes qui sont victimes de violences. Aucune mère ne devrait avoir à choisir entre garder ses enfants dans une maison où ils sont en danger ou les emmener dans un endroit où ils pourraient tomber malades. On a donc investi 40 millions de dollars dans les refuges pour femmes et les centres qui viennent en aide aux victimes d'agressions sexuelles. Et pour les femmes et les enfants autochtones qui fuient la violence, on a investi 10 millions de dollars dans les refuges d'urgence. Ces fonds aideront les refuges pour femmes à prendre toutes les mesures nécessaires pour protéger les gens non seulement contre la violence, mais aussi contre la COVID-19. Pour aider les sans-abri, on a augmenté de plus de 157 millions de dollars le financement destiné au programme Vers un chez-soi. Les responsables du programme pourront donc acheter des choses comme des autres lits ou louer des nouveaux locaux pour que les gens dorment pas trop près les uns des autres. On envoie de l'argent aux communautés qui en ont besoin, de Vancouver à Saskatoon, de Toronto à Halifax. C'est pas juste une question d'offrir aux gens un endroit sûr où aller pour échapper à la violence ou pour éviter de dormir dans la rue. Il faut protéger tous les membres de notre société contre la COVID-19 et ça inclut les plus vulnérables. No one should have to choose between being somewhere they're unsafe and risking getting COVID-19. That's why we've invested $40 million for women's shelters and sexual assault centers across the country. And for Indigenous women and children fleeing violence, we're providing $10 million for emergency shelters. For other shelters, we've boosted funding for the Reaching Home program by over $157 million. This will help buy things like physical barriers or rent new space to keep people safe. The communities that need this funding have now been identified and money is getting to them. For people from Victoria to Hamilton and Regina to St. John's, help has arrived. I know we're asking a lot right now. To stay home, to not see friends, to close your business temporarily. It's not easy. I get that. But these sacrifices are necessary. The price of acting otherwise is just too steep. To those who are sick right now or have family in hospital, in the ICU, to those who've lost a loved one or a friend, we're thinking of you, we're here for you, and you remind us of what's on the line. We all need to take physical distancing very seriously. Done right, these measures will save lives and bridge us, slowly but surely, back to normal. At the same time, we're working around the clock to get Canada the resources we need. In the next 48 hours, we will be receiving a shipment of millions of masks by a chartered cargo flight. We're also working with provinces to transport their medical supplies when possible. Items ordered by Quebec will be on this flight. Our government has also leased a warehouse in China to help collect and distribute these items as quickly as possible. And going forward, the flights we're chartering to get the materials here include Canadian companies Cargojet and Air Canada. I want to take a moment to thank everyone, whether you're working in a warehouse, flying the plane, or part of the ground crew, for your dedication. These are vital supplies for people on the front lines and are key to fighting the virus. People in our hospitals are saving lives every single day. They can't be worried about running out of the equipment that'll keep them or you safe. And for everyone else, to give our country the best shot possible, we're doing everything we can to support you while you do your part. So this weekend, stay at home. Protect your loved ones and our frontline workers. Save lives. I want to take a moment to talk to kids again today. Even at home, there's lots of stuff going on. There's lots of stuff to do. I'll be holding a video conference tomorrow with Dr. Tam to talk through some of your questions. I know a lot of you have sent them in, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow, you'll also have a chance to ask someone who knows better than anyone else about staying inside, an astronaut. Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen will be live on YouTube tomorrow to talk with you. So ask your parents to help send in a question ahead of time. Aux enfants, je sais que vous avez beaucoup de questions. Alors demain, écoutez ma vidéoconférence avec la Dr Tam où je répondrai à vos questions. Et n'oubliez pas que l'astronaute canadien Jeremy Hansen sera en direct sur YouTube demain aussi. Pour protéger votre salaire et l'économie, on a élaboré un plan à 3 volets qui va nous permettre de protéger les emplois, soutenir les petites entreprises et aider ceux qui ont perdu leur chèque de paie. Pour protéger votre santé et la santé de tous nos travailleurs essentiels, on travaille avec plusieurs entreprises pour fabriquer et distribuer du matériel médical et de l'équipement de protection personnelle. On va vous aider à affronter la tempête, mais on a besoin que vous fassiez votre part. Je sais que je peux compter sur vous. Cette fin de semaine, restez chez vous. Sauvez nos travailleurs de première ligne. Sauvez nos vies. Merci.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We'll now take some questions from the phone. As a reminder, 1 question, 1 follow-up. Over to you, Operator.
Thank you. Merci. The first question is from Teresa Wright from the Canadian Press. Your line is open. Votre ligne est ouverte.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Yesterday, in response to questions about the White House order for the U.S. to stop exporting N95 masks, you mentioned the thousands of nurses in Windsor that go across the bridge to Detroit every day. Is Canada considering stopping those nurses from going to the U.S. as a retaliatory measure?
No, we recognize that our countries are deeply interlinked in sometimes very complex ways. The necessary goods and services that flow back and forth across our border keep us both safe and help us on both sides of the border. We are continuing to engage in constructive discussions with different levels within the administration to highlight that the U.S. will be hurting itself as much as Canada will be hurting if we see an interruption of essential goods and services flow back and forth across the border. We continue to demonstrate that this is a good thing for both of our countries, and we look to continue to ensure that essential supplies get across the border.
How concerned are you that those arguments at that pace that you're trying to make could be falling on deaf ears?
We've had extremely constructive conversations with the Americans over the past weeks throughout this crisis, and we continue to get very good response from them on this issue as well.
Thank you, Teresa. Next question, operator.
Thank you. Merci. The next question is from Rod Nickel from Reuters News. Their line is open. Votre parole est à vous.
Prime Minister, Premier Kenney said yesterday that his government will take part in next week's OPEC Plus conference call. Will your government participate in that conference call whenever it happens? And what specific outcome in terms of global supply cuts is your government looking for?
As you know, that conference call, that meeting for Monday has been cancelled. We're continuing to engage with our partners and look very carefully at how we can ensure that Canada's perspective and Canada's voice is heard during these important deliberations.
And just as a follow-up, to what extent is your government holding off on finalizing its oil support package pending these global talks about supply cuts?
No, we are continuing to work forward regardless of what happens in the global context on support for oil and gas workers who are suffering. But that is why at the same time we move forward early on in direct support for workers across the country in all industries. The wage subsidy and the CERB will be there to support Canadians who've fallen onto difficult times because of COVID-19. Nous reconnaissons qu'il faut qu'on s'assure d'aider les travailleurs dans les industries qui ont été affectées fortement, comme l'industrie pétrolière, et nous allons continuer de regarder comment nous allons pouvoir le faire dans un très bref délai. Mais en même temps, je peux souligner que les mesures qu'on a mises de l'avant, que ce soit la subvention salariale ou la prestation canadienne d'urgence, vont aider les gens dans toutes les industries à travers le pays qui font face à des difficultés à cause de la COVID-19.
Next question, operator.
Thank you. Merci. The next question is from Catherine Lévesque, La Presse canadienne. Your line is open. La parole est à vous.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau. Je veux juste revenir sur ce que vous avez dit au sujet des millions de masques qui doivent arriver bientôt. Je me demandais, les masques prévus pour le Québec, est-ce qu'on parle de ceux de la compagnie américaine 3M? Sinon, d'où viennent-ils?
Ça, c'est des masques qui vont venir de la Chine. On est en train de travailler pour s'assurer que les chaînes d'approvisionnement de la Chine continuent à fonctionner. Et ces masques-là sont de cette commande-là.
Très bien, merci. Et pour revenir à M. Trump, je me demandais, avez-vous téléphoné ou prévoyez-vous téléphoner à Donald Trump? Et est-ce qu'il y a d'autres recours possibles? Est-ce que le Canada pourrait se servir du nouvel ALENA ou se plaindre à l'OMC, par exemple, pour régler la situation avec les États-Unis?
Ça fait plusieurs fois depuis le début de la crise que je parle directement au président et je prévois lui parler encore dans un bref délai. Mais pour l'instant, les conversations se font à différents niveaux pour souligner à quel point les biens et les services essentiels vont des deux directions le long de notre frontière, que ce soit des médecins, des infirmières qui travaillent de l'autre côté de la frontière, que ce soit des produits comme des gants, comme d'autres choses, comme des tests de dépistage que nous envoyons aux États-Unis. Nos économies sont tellement connectées que ça ferait du mal à nos deux pays de bloquer ces chaînes d'approvisionnement. Okay. I will be speaking to President Trump in the coming days. I have spoken with him a number of times over the past weeks since the virus really started to hit hard. We're continuing to engage at all levels with the administration, having very constructive conversations, highlighting that the flow of goods and services that are essential to both of our countries flow both ways across the borders, from medical professionals right across the country who live in Canada and work in the United States, to essential goods from gloves to testing kits that Canada ships to the United States. It is in both of our interests to maintain this extraordinary close relationship.
Thank you. And we'll take one more question on the phone, operator.
Thank you. Merci. We have a question from Michel Lamarche, TVA. Your line is now open. La parole est à vous.
Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau. J'aimerais savoir si vous avez abordé avec les Américains au cours de vos récentes discussions le fait que la pâte à papier, la pulpe qui est utilisée pour fabriquer ces masques N95, elle vient en grande partie du Canada, de Nanaimo. Est-ce que ça a été abordé parce qu'on pourrait arrêter les exportations? Est-ce que vous y avez réfléchi?
Oui, on a souligné à bien des niveaux tous les différents matériaux essentiels et biens et services qui passent des deux côtés de la frontière. On ne veut pas commencer à limiter nos exportations ou les services qu'on envoie aux États-Unis. On comprend que nos deux pays sont dans de bien meilleures situations si on continue à compter l'un sur l'autre et je suis confiant qu'on va pouvoir trouver une solution à cette situation. We have highlighted in many different ways the very many different products and resources that flow across the border in both directions to ensure success for our economies, success in keeping our citizens safe. We are not looking at retaliatory measures or measures that are punitive. We know that it is in both of our interests to continue to work collaboratively and cooperatively to keep our citizens safe, and that's very much the tenor of our conversations, and I'm confident that we're going to get there.
Monsieur Trudeau, on connaît maintenant les scénarios pour l'Ontario. Vous les avez sans doute vus hier. Je voudrais d'abord savoir comment vous avez réagi et est-ce que ça ressemble au scénario qu'on aura pour l'ensemble du pays et à quel moment vous allez dévoiler les vôtres?
On a vu les scénarios de l'Ontario, on attend des scénarios du Québec d'ici quelques jours. On est en train continuellement de travailler avec les différentes provinces pour avoir les bonnes les données, les informations nécessaires pour pouvoir dresser un portrait et des prévisions pour les Canadiens, pour répondre aux questions que tout le monde a sur comment grave ça va devenir et à quel moment on va pouvoir réduire les mesures d'isolation. Mais en même temps, je veux souligner que chaque modèle, chaque prévision, chaque prédiction qu'on fait est basée sur le fait que nous devons rester chez nous, nous devons limiter nos déplacements, nous devons garder 2 mètres de distance, nous devons continuer à laver les mains. C'est les comportements des Canadiens qui vont faire en sorte que dans quel que soit le modèle, on ait les meilleures situations, le moins de dégâts, de dommages, de décès possible. Et comme j'ai dit, nous allons partager plus de modèles, plus de données dans les jours à venir, mais à tous les jours, on poste des données, on laisse les Canadiens savoir c'est quoi les chiffres les plus concrètes qu'on a reçus des provinces. Okay. We recognize that people want to know how bad this is going to get, how much longer it's going to last. We saw modeling and predictions from Ontario yesterday. We know we're getting more modeling and predictions from Quebec in the coming days. Canada, at the federal level, will continue to pull together the information and make models and predictions based on that. But regardless of the curves and the models put forward, one thing is consistent throughout all those predictions, that the more people stay self-isolated, stay at home, keep that 2 meters of distance from each other, don't go out unless absolutely necessary, and wash their hands regularly, the better off we'll be. We will be continuing to share up-to-the-minute data on canada.ca/coronavirus. Please go check it out. See all the public data, the data that we're making public from all across the provinces. And we will continue to build and share our predictions in the coming days on how Canada is going to be doing as a whole.
Hi, Prime Minister. Mackenzie Gray with CTV. Kind of following up on the previous question, yesterday when the Ontario government put out the projections, they said that between 3,000 and 15,000 Ontarians potentially could die from COVID-19, that we could be in this from 18 to 2 years, and that potentially could be 3 waves of this. You've seen the projections that Dr. Tam and Public Health have put forward. Are the models that Ontario put forward consistent with what you've seen so far?
From the very beginning, we've seen a range of models talking about the coming weeks and months to much longer than that, talking about very high numbers of possible deaths to talking about very low numbers of possible deaths. We know the situation is serious. We know there are a range of possibilities, and every given model will just give those range of possibilities. What actually happens depends on the choices and the actions that we take every single day. That's why, regardless of the model that is put out there, we can impact that model. We can change the predictions based on how we act. Staying home, keeping 2 meters distant, washing your hands.
Dr. Donnelly referenced yesterday that Ontario was be able to make predictions on the mortality rate largely because we're able to look at international data that we've been able to collect so far on mortality rate. If that's the case and Ontario's been able to put out projection, other provinces are going to do so, why can the federal government not confidently put out a number right now?
Well, we recognize that different countries around the world face very different mortality rates, very different situations depending on their local circumstances. The same way in Canada, the way different provinces are experiencing, are handling, are bringing in measures to adjust to their situations vary as well. And at the federal level, we depend on collating, collecting, and aligning all that data from the provinces in order to build a better picture of what's going to happen across the country. We've seen different provinces put out numbers, put out data, put out models, but before we can get to a proper national model, we need to have an even better idea of what we're doing in various provinces. Okay. Nous reconnaissons que différentes provinces ont différentes circonstances, comme on voit des pays à travers le monde ont des situations extrêmement différentes, dépendamment de ce qu'ils sont en train de vivre. C'est pour ça qu'au niveau fédéral, pour rassembler une idée de ce à quoi fait face le Canada en global, quelles seront nos prédictions, on se doit de dépendre des modèles et des prédictions et des données des provinces. Et ce qu'on est en train de faire, c'est d'arrimer tous ces données-là, de les vérifier, de les aligner pour pouvoir partager dans les prochains jours une vision de ce à quoi on pourrait s'attendre pour le Canada.
Marika Walsh with the Globe and Mail. Last night, President Trump made it very clear that he's unmoved by your urgings and that he will go ahead with this ban on exports. So what is the number, what is the impact that this has on Canada's medical supplies?
As we've said, we have been working day and night to source medical supplies for Canadian frontline workers. We have shipments coming in the next 24 hours. We've received shipments over the past days. We continue to work with suppliers around the world to ensure that we do get the medical equipment that we need, and we have more coming in regularly. At the same time, we're working with the American administration to ensure that they understand that goods and services that are essential to both our countries flow in both directions across the border, and it is not in any of our interests to actually limit that flow. We are also, of course, turning towards Canadian manufacturers as the tremendous effort that Canadian companies are putting in to develop made-in-Canada products, PPE, equipment, and medical supplies that is going to actually not just supply Canada, but be there to supply other countries who need them as we meet our own needs. This is part of what Canada is doing to ensure that we are protecting our frontline workers and all Canadians every single day.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Nous allons continuer de travailler pour amener les produits essentiels à travers le monde. Nous allons continuer de travailler avec l'administration américaine pour souligner que c'est dans l'intérêt de nos deux pays de continuer à avoir les produits et les services essentiels des deux côtés de la frontière. Et nous allons continuer de travailler avec l'industrie à travers le Canada pour développer des solutions au Canada pour garder nos travailleurs en santé.
Does the lack of an answer on how much the impact is mean you don't have the numbers, or does it mean you're not willing to share it? And given that the EU has also done this several weeks ago now, why isn't Canada doing the same?
We understand that it is really important to keep global supply chains flowing. We know that Canadian frontline workers are depending on the arrival of PPE from around the world, and that's why we are facilitating those arrivals. They've arrived last week. We've got more coming in the coming days. We will continue to work to ensure that that comes in. We're also continuing to impress upon countries around the world that they are hurting themselves when they limit the flow of essential goods across their borders. We need to work together to make it through this global pandemic. That is what Canada will always do.
Brian Mullen, Global News. A question about testing. Why didn't Canada start procuring tests earlier when we saw what was happening in China? Are you concerned with the limited amount of testing means that you don't have an accurate picture of what's going on to inform policy, especially the potential role of asymptomatic people silently infecting other Canadians, which more testing would have identified?
Canada has been doing an awful lot of testing. We have been ramping up testing. We've certainly done more testing than a lot of other countries like the United States. And we've seen that early and strong testing in places like Alberta and BC have been very, very effective at managing and controlling the spread of COVID-19. We recognize that mass testing and accurate rapid results are a key part of managing the virus going forward, of ensuring that we continue to be safe through the coming months, and that's why we are increasing our testing capacity every single day. Nous reconnaissons que les tests de dépistage sont essentiels pour gérer cette propagation du virus. On a bien fait en général au Canada au niveau du dépistage, mais on peut toujours en faire plus et ça fait partie de pourquoi nous sommes continuellement en train d'augmenter nos capacités de dépistage. On a vu qu'en Colombie-Britannique et en Alberta, par exemple, les tests de dépistage ont été extrêmement efficaces à pouvoir contrôler l'expansion et la propagation du virus. Nous savons que nous devons en faire plus à travers le pays et c'est pour ça qu'à chaque jour, on augmente notre capacité de dépistage.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News. Are you concerned that the battle we're seeing over face masks, such as the one we're seeing now with 3M, could extend to other medical supplies and medications to treat COVID-19? Could this just be the tip of the iceberg, and what are you planning to do about it?
That is one of the reasons why we have turned towards Canada's local industrial capacity to develop these solutions for the coming weeks. We know that made-in-Canada solutions are on their way because thousands of businesses, of manufacturers across this country are stepping up, are switching their assembly lines and supply lines over towards producing the necessary medical supplies and equipment that we need. In the meantime, we will continue to source these products from suppliers around the world. Shipments are coming in over the next 48 hours. We've had shipments come in over the past few days. We're going to continue to do everything we can to ensure that our frontline workers get the support and the protection they need.
But do you have concerns that these shipments could be in jeopardy?
Okay. We know that there is a global competition for these products. Every country in the world needs more of them. That's why Canada is shifting over so much of its industrial production to develop these masks, these solutions, these equipment, so that we can cover our own needs over the medium and long term, and be there to help other countries at a point where we have enough for ourselves as we manage the spread of COVID-19. At the same time, in the short term, we're continuing to procure the necessary equipment that our women and men on the front lines need right now. Okay. Nous reconnaissons qu'il y a une compétition globale assez féroce pour tous ces équipements nécessaires dont tout le monde a besoin. C'est pour ça que nous sommes en train de développer la capacité domestique de produire cet équipement essentiel pour protéger nos travailleurs de première ligne. C'est une solution qui va être en place dans le moyen terme, mais dans le court terme, on continue à accepter, à recevoir des envois de produits d'à travers le monde qui sont essentiels pour garder nos citoyens en santé.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau, Christian Noël de Radio-Canada. Vous allez parler à M. Trump probablement de l'ALENA et aussi des masques. Sur l'ALENA, est-ce que ça vaudrait la peine d'attendre avant de la mettre en place, comme certains groupes industriels le demandent au Canada, puisqu'on est en situation de pandémie mondiale? Est-ce que ça devrait avoir la peine de repousser ça plus tard, ou au contraire, on en a besoin rapidement? Et au niveau des masques, qu'est-ce que vous allez lui dire? C'est quoi votre point de négociation le plus fort que vous avez?
D'abord, par rapport à l'ALENA, on comprend que les processus d'harmonisation des règlements prend un certain montant de travail, et les gens qui sont en train de travailler au gouvernement là-dessus ont beaucoup sur la planche ces jours-ci en termes de notre réponse à la COVID-19. Mais je peux rassurer les gens que le nouvel ALENA entre en vigueur bientôt ou dans un peu plus de temps. L'ALENA actuel reste en place et garantit encore le libre-échange avec les États-Unis. Donc, on va le faire en coordination avec le Mexique et les États-Unis, mais notre priorité maintenant, c'est de continuer de faire tout ce qu'on peut pour protéger les Canadiens et lutter contre la COVID-19. Par rapport à ma conversation avec le président, je vais souligner à quel point il y a des travailleurs de la santé du Canada qui travaillent le long de la frontière aux États-Unis, sur lesquels ils dépendent. On a aussi énormément de produits qui sont essentiels pour les États-Unis dans leur lutte contre la COVID-19. Et je sais que ça va être une conversation très constructive, comme on a toujours eu. We will continue to work very, very hard to remind the Americans, as I will in my conversation with President Trump when it happens in the coming days, that we are, both of us, interlinked in ways that means that it would hurt both of our countries in our ability to protect our citizens were supply chains to be disrupted. There are Canadian health professionals right along the border with the United States who engage in supporting American medical systems in a daily basis, and that would be something that is valuable to the United States. It's also extremely valuable that we are part of essential supply chains for things from testing kits to gloves to the ingredients in N95 masks. We know that we do better when we work together, and that'll be my message to the President. On va travailler avec les Américains et les Mexicains pour voir l'entrée en vigueur de l'ALENA, mais ça va être quelque chose sur lequel on va continuer de travailler. La priorité, c'est toujours la COVID-19. We will continue to work with Mexico and the United States on the ratification of the new NAFTA, but as a reminder for everyone, the existing NAFTA is still very much in place and will remain in place until such a time as the new one is brought in. The people who who usually work very, very hard on ratification of trade deals, like most people in government, are very much focused on our response to COVID-19, and that needs to be our priority right now. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Merci tout le monde.